Hi, in this video I want to discuss brainwashing and how a lot of this has to do with issues of having too much mess in your mind, too much stuff confusing the truths of reality, and how that can have a lot to do with how intelligent or how smart a person can be. And if you have too much mush in your brain, and obviously that's something that's going to get in the way of the knowledge that's important to know or important to have when it comes to knowing what is and isn't true. Not being deluded, not having some kind of illness that has to do with diluting your psychology. Any of those kinds of things can obviously get in the way of knowing the truth, and a lot of these things can obviously be a detriment. They can be an obstruction, a severe obstruction to that point, to where sometimes even out of principle, um, these things could become an issue. So if a person doesn't want to believe something out of principle or based on what they were, um, based on what they grew up around or whatever it may be, obviously these things could be just as bad when you have a good set of principles, but you're following the wrong thing or reinforcing it with the wrong thing. You believe the wrong thing, but for the right principles. And those things can obviously cause a lot of issues. Um, Sort of like Christians or anyone that believes in religion, that's an issue. When they believe in religion, but they have the principles to follow through with their, um, with their convictions. They have the principle to follow through with their convictions. That could be, they have the right principle, but for the wrong thing. And obviously, these things could be a detriment. And knowing the wrong things more than anything could be the detriment because that's the thing that we're trying to combat, trying to get rid of is getting rid of the wrong ideas, and that's the biggest issue. And the issue is just getting rid of all the mush that's inside of your mind, of your brain, letting it and use it the knowledge as efficiently as possible. Not having all this extra stuff in there that's unnecessary that could probably confuse a lot of these things, confuse a lot of the facts, all this kind of stuff, and that can in many ways get in the way. It shouldn't. There shouldn't be conflicting facts. There shouldn't be contradictions. And the more efficient the way that you're thinking and what you have in your mind, and the less contradictions you have, the more efficient you're going to be at recognizing the truth. The less steps you have to take to recognize the truth. Obviously, there's things like predisposition, environmental factors. All these things have to do with recognizing what can and what is and isn't true. But obviously, the thing that is the most important is just having less mush in your brain and not having all these things confuse what is and isn't true, or what can be used to gain knowledge about the world around us. What can logically lead to conclusions that could be tied to reality as opposed to confuse reality or completely change reality into something that it's not. Um, Things that don't true, delusions, falsities, anything that isn't true or not even possible should not be considered as a way of reaching a conclusion or be a conclusion itself. So those things need to be recognized and thoroughly destroyed or put away with. So it's about really the real conclusion is just making sure to not be brainwashed. A lot of this has to do with how many people raise, or what someone grew up around, or how they were raised in a certain environment. Predispositions, how willing they are to believe certain things based on predispositions such as emotional um, connections a person may have with certain ideas. Um, like I mentioned, they're based on environmental factors and things like that. Um, but it's really the basic idea is just the less stuff that you have in there, the more efficient you are with the things that you put in there in your mind and that you absorb, especially when you're being raised in these ideas at that time, when the crucial point, that critical crucial point in time, when you're willing to believe as an adult what you were believing is based on what you were raised on growing up. And that's how a lot of people go through their life, is based on how they were raised in these environmental things. And that's something that needs to be considered when at least having an idea, a battle of ideas when it comes to this kind of stuff. So, I mean, the battle of ideas needs to come down to why do people believe what they believe, and where does it come from, and why do they believe it? So that's really what you need to get to the bottom of, and a lot of this, obviously, it just has to do with what they were used to hearing, and using it as almost a way, as a cover or a blanket to hide under when reality strikes. I mean, it's a good way to make yourself feel comfortable at the very least. You're comfortable in living in a lie, at least. The more you have been told that it's true, even though you may not, you may doubt it, the more comfortable you are with at least lying because you know it's reinforced and it's comfortable and it's something that's easily acceptable. So even if you may be doubting it or know it's not true, at least you know it's a valid excuse to use because so many people can help validate you, or it's a commonly accepted held belief to establish or have that idea or have that belief to help you live through existence. The willingness to tell the truth, willingness to accept the truth is also another thing, because anything when it comes to intelligence, or recognition, or um, any of that stuff, has to do with acceptance, how much you're willing to accept the truth. Because if you're not willing to accept the truth, you're just as detrimental. But I guess that's not necessarily intelligence, it's just unwillingness to accept the truth. That's denial. But intelligence, yeah, a lot has to do with brainwashing. The less mush you have, the more straightforward the answer. Usually, the more you can consider to be maybe intelligent. Obviously, there's um, things where people know certain things based on just living, how they can create logical conclusions based on maybe no experience whatsoever. Obviously, these things can come into play when it comes to things like how smart a person can be considered, but also has to do with ridding of all the extra stuff that doesn't need to be there. It's either confusing the ideas or confusing a conclusion, or is the conclusion itself that's wrong. So it's about just ridding of all these unnecessary um, detours in your mind's process. Mind's processing plane, get rid of all these delusions or false ideas of hope, or falsities or untruths or fantasies that people believe in, or the way that these fantasies can screw up the way a person may logically think. In many cases, people can be very intelligent but also believe silly things, but obviously there's some kind of error there. There's kind of, whatever the word is to describe it, um, judgment error, something, I don't know. But there's some kind of category error, yeah, where they believe something that's not true, but I think in many cases they know it's not true, they doubt it, but they use it as a form of emotional comfort because they're still human, so they need the comfort, but they also recognize that they can also recognize a lot, but also have the emotion, be still bound and tied and bound by emotions to a certain idea, at least into believing it or falsely claiming that you believe in something. But obviously some people just believe it without question, but they seem to question other things that don't need to be questioned, yet they believe certain crazy or controversial ideas, even though they don't question those ideas to the same extent. They just falsely reach conclusions without really looking at the other side. They're good at reaching conclusions, but not denying the other conclusions, or looking at why the other side is wrong, but looking at why their side is right. Even if the other side has more right sides as opposed to wrong sides, and they're on the wrong side, they're only looking at the wrong side as the right side. So it's a matter of just understanding and looking at both sides, being to a certain degree open-minded when you're looking at something that you're starting to learn or understand, when you want to learn something new, but also keep a mind's eye out for what can be true and what cannot be true, and recognizing having a bullshit meter or a recognizer go off when you know that something may be off or eerie. When something seems a little crazy, don't mind questioning the belief or the thing that someone's claiming to be true, especially when you can think for yourself, or claim to be able to think for yourself. So that's obviously important. Know exactly what you're talking about. Have as little um, mental brainwashing as possible. Avoid as much of that entrapment of confusing, delusional, or confusing, unnecessary ideas. Avoid that as much as you can and falling into those traps and relying on those things at the very least, because that can almost, in a way, confuse it as well, the ideas, because they obviously get somewhere stuck in the emotional and the intellectual, recognizing the recognition bound. of recognizing what the truth is, because obviously a lot of these things can be lived vicariously. You can live recognizing that it's not true, but still wish it's true and almost live your life as if it's true, and that can get in the way in many ways. So that can be something that can be considered to be worth considering. But anyway, yeah, just get rid of all the extra nonsense that doesn't need to be there, and that's about it, really. And that's all I need to mention in this video. So if there's anything else to mention, there's always another time, another video. I don't know if I forgot to say anything in this, or I forgot to expand on an idea, but I think I got the basic ideas down pretty well. So anyway, until next time, and thank you for watching. Bye.